Hi everyone, my name is Jen Kava with the Seed to Kitchen Collaborative. Today we're going to be going over how to sanitize seeds using trisodium phosphate. First thing you start with is if you had tomato seeds, you'll be having a jar with seeds that have been fermenting for at least 2 to 3 days. To start out, we're going to separate all of the goop from the seeds by rinsing them. So to start, we're going to put the seeds into a larger jar and then fill it with water. By doing this, we're letting all of the goop and extra stuff that was on the seeds float to the top, and all of the seeds that are big enough and actually fully developed will sink to the bottom. So you can kind of see we're just going to let that settle, and all of the smaller non-viable seeds are floating to the top and the rest are going to the bottom. Once the seeds have looked like they've mostly settled, we are going to go ahead and pour off the water, taking care to not let the bottom seeds fall out, and then refill. We're going to repeat this process at least 2 or 3 times until most of the extra tomato goop has been rinsed away. Once you've rinsed a few times and the water is very clear and most of the seeds have sunk to the bottom, we're going to actually strain them with a strainer and rinse them a bit more. So I'm just going to pour off most of the water, get anything off the top, and then I'm going to pour the rest into the strainer and then kind of blast them to make sure we're getting all of the fermented tomato bits off. Once they're rinsed, we're going to transfer them into a small cloth bag that is basically the holes are small enough that the seeds can't fall out, but there's enough space that water and all of the cleaning agents can kind of flow through the bag pretty easily. We're just going to scoop up the seeds with a spoon. And obviously this is a very small seed lot. With a larger one, I would have rinsed them a bit longer, just because there's definitely more tomato when you do it with a larger amount of seeds. Once you've got them in the bag, close it. You just need to tie it once. And then we are all set to get started with the sanitation process with the trisodium phosphate, or TSP. Next, we're going to make our trisodium phosphate solution. We are making a 10% solution, so we're going to start off with distilled water, and we're going to fill it to whereabouts we think we need for the amount of seeds we have. We only have one bag, and they will essentially go about this far down into it, so we're going to go up to the 300 mark, about halfway up this beaker, which is right there. Now 10% of 300 is 30, so we're going to be adding 30 grams of the trisodium phosphate. So trisodium phosphate is a cleaner that you can buy at places like hardware stores. It's a white powder, so we're going to actually measure it out on a scale. So we're at 29.95. That is more than close enough. You don't need to get it at exactly 30.0 for this type of thing. Before we add the trisodium phosphate, we actually use a stir plate here. So I'm gonna add a stir rod before I actually add the cleaner. It's a little magnet that will work with our plate to make sure the water, everything mixes well. Add the trisodium phosphate, put it on our stir plate, and start stirring. You want to make sure that the TSP is fully incorporated into the water before you actually start any treatment. So we're going to let this go for a little bit. While we do that, we actually set up the bags with the seeds. You can use a chopstick, you can use a stir rod, any sort of long thing like this, where we just hook all of the bags right onto it, so then we can put it across the top of the beaker, and we can have all of the tags with what our seeds are hanging off the side of the beaker. And you'll tell that the TSP is fully incorporated when the water is starting to actually look pretty clear. It should be able to dissolve fully. You can also do the same process with pepper seeds. You don't have to do the fermentation like you do with the tomatoes. As soon as you cut them out of the pepper and add them to the little bag, you are all set to go for this step. If you don't have a stir plate, you can always stir it by hand. You're just going to want to stir it while you're soaking the seeds as well occasionally. Looks like we're pretty close to ready there. All right, once we're ready to add the seeds, we don't need to stir it quite as hard anymore. So I'm just gonna slow that down, although not so much that it decides to not spin so well. And then we wanna make sure, might be a little too strong still, because it just is stirring the bag around. Make sure that the seeds are fully submerged. And then we are gonna let this go for about 30 minutes. While your seeds are soaking in the TSP, we can make our diluted bleach solution, which is what we're going to clean them with next. In order to figure out the volume of undiluted bleach you need, we're gonna actually fill out this equation. So to figure this out, we need the percent bleach that we want, which is a 0.5% solution. We need the total volume of the solution once we mix the bleach and water together, which is going to be 300 milliliters, like we started with last time. And then we're going to divide it by the percent of the undiluted bleach, which you can find on your jug. So in this one, sodium hypochlorite is the bleach component, and it is at an 8.25% concentration. Then we're just going to run that through our calculator right here. So 0.5 times 300, and then divided by 8.25. So we get about 18.18 milliliters of bleach needed. To measure that out, we're going to use a smaller beaker. So we're just going to go up to right below that 20 milliliter line. And that's looking pretty good. If you do a little bit less, that's not going to hurt it. If you do a little bit more, it's not going to hurt it. So we're going to go ahead and add that to our bigger beaker. and then fill up with the distilled water up to the 300 mark again. And now our solution is ready for the next step. Once the 30 minutes have passed for your seeds soaking in the TSP, you're going to remove them. I've already done so here, and we're going to actually transfer them into our bleach solution. We're going to do this on the stir plate again, so I'm going to be adding the stir rod, if it wants to come off the magnet. Now this time, the solution is already pretty mixed. You don't need to pre-mix it for a long time like you did with the TSP. We're going to get our seeds in there, make sure that they're actually in and submerged, and then we're going to go ahead and turn that stir plate on and let it mix. Sometimes these are a little finicky. It doesn't have to spin very fast. If you don't have a stir plate, again, you just want to stir it every few minutes while you're doing this. For the bleach solution, we're only putting it in for 20 minutes. Once your seeds are done soaking in the bleach solution, we're going to rinse them one more time, and then we will be all set with the sanitation process. So to rinse them, I'm actually going to remove the tag like so to keep that for later. We're going to actually go back to the sink and you can use the same strainer that you used before, and we're going to rinse the seeds again. In order to make sure that they have a low enough concentration of bleach on them, we're going to be rinsing them for about 5 minutes. Usually I like to turn the bag all the way inside out, and then I'll actually rinse them off the bag. Like I said, you want to rinse them for at least 5 minutes. This is especially important if you have a lot more seeds. Like with this, you can kind of see they're all in one layer, so it's a lot easier to rinse them. But the bigger the seed lot, the longer you might have to actually rinse them. Go ahead and pause. Once you are done rinsing the seeds, you want to set them in a place where they can dry. We use coffee filters to actually do this. So we lay out our coffee filter, and then we can actually just take the strainer and smack the seeds right onto the filter, making sure they all come off. And if you need to, like, you can use your hands at this point. They're clean. We'll grab the tag and add the tag so that we know what package of seeds this is, and then we fold them in half and in half again. That way we can let them sit and dry for about 2 days before we actually store them in their seed envelopes. This completes the seed sanitation process. You can also find the written protocol for this procedure on eOrganic and the Organic Seed Commons. If you have any questions, you can contact us at seedtokitchen@hort.wisc.edu. Thanks, and hope you have a great day.